I'm Shannon Snowden. I'm with Zerto. I'm Senior Technical Marketing Architect. I want to introduce the other players in the band here. Gil Levenai, he's the VP of Product and Marketing. And Joshua Stenhouse, Solutions Engineer. Each of us will be telling you a little bit about some of the things coming up, Gil particularly, and then Josh is going to remind you what the architecture looks like, and then how we're adding on systematically and logically with the roadmap, why we're putting what we're putting in it. And we think it's great. We're excited to be back here with new toys and new capability. And so I'm going to turn it over to Gil now and let Gil start on the vision piece of it.
Okay, thanks. So as we know, you guys, as Steven said, we've been here for a number of times already. We want to keep it very technical, but I want to start with a little bit of a vision thing. I actually was planning on doing the whole vision in on a whiteboard, explain how it all fits together, but we'll have to do with slides. Before we start, a quick around the room. What's your familiarity with Zerto? Because I know some of you guys are very familiar, but I want to just make sure we're in the even kind of game here. So,
hi, I am Enrico. I'm right on Juku.it. It's Italian and English about virtualization, cloud computing, and storage, primary storage.
And what's your familiarity with Zerto?
I heard from Zerto the first time 2 years ago, I think. It was, I don't remember, it was a meeting like this. And then I met.
Yeah. And do you feel that you know the solution? You understand? You know our basic technology?
I know the solution, and I know a couple of Italian providers that are.
Italian and these guys, yeah. Okay.
Yep, I'm familiar with it. Know Shannon quite well. Kind of gone over it several times.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm Hans, and I used to be on the other side of the table at another data protection company. So I'm familiar with what's in the market. But
okay, yeah. Got that.
And I'm Alistair, and I've had briefings from Zerto. I just haven't deployed it for any customers.
We're good.
Same thing. I'm familiar enough. We can go ahead.
You guys sponsored my virtual design master competition, so you guys are awesome. I know all about you.
And a plug too.
Can you turn it over to me for a second? So, a quick bragging about us for a second. We've been, I don't know, some of you guys saw us in different time in the past, but we've been growing really, really large. We have hundreds of customers, enterprise customers across the world. I think we have customers in 29 or 30 countries, spanning everything from small kind of corporations up to Fortune 100, Fortune 50 customers. The other interesting piece is we're a channel-driven business, hundreds of channels around the world, and our second kind of angle of attack is with the cloud service providers. We are working with, I want to say it's actually more like 170 or 90 cloud providers that are delivering disaster recovery services using the Zerto platform, okay? Actively delivering in the market with customers, with paying customers. So the customers I'm mentioning here, the hundreds of customers, are not including the customers that are being serviced by the service providers, okay? And we're growing as a company also. We have opened a physical presence across the globe. As you see, we have actually people in Australia now, Latin America, of course, Europe and US. So company is growing very, very nicely.
Hold on for 1 second. What's the, so we see the amount of customers. What's the volume size, the difference between how big is what you protect in those layers?
So it ranges a lot. We have the smaller shops that might be protecting 10, actually not 10, our minimum is 15 VMs, so 15, 20, 30 VMs. But we have a growing number and a real number. It's not like one or two that are protecting hundreds of VMs. We have one of our big customers is actually protecting, I want to say, 700, 800 VMs across 6 global sites. They have 3 in the US, 2 in the UK, 1 in India, all using Zerto across all these sites. We have a company, I don't know if you know that, Zerto Cloud Manager, which kind of is providing an overall view of everything. So from one user interface, they're actually protecting all of these workloads and they can do failovers, migrations, whatever they want, all across their infrastructure. So very, it ranges anything between that and that.
Yeah.
This is like a Mac. This is good? Okay, so quick, I'm gonna discuss the vision in something like 2 or 3 or 4 slides, then a little bit on what's coming up, and then we'll switch to more of a deep dive on the architecture, the old one, the new one, what's changing and all that stuff, and a couple of demos. Again, we'll be very flexible. Whatever you guys want to see, we'll show you. So the way we see it, the way we see the problem that we identify in the market is the fact that, you know, those customers, and let's focus on the customer. The customer is in enterprise IT. I don't want to say SMB, I want to say medium enterprise and above, okay? They used to have their on-premise VMware or physical infrastructure, and that's basically was it. Now the world is changing. The world is changing because on-premise, they are now deploying some Hyper-V, they might deploying some OpenStack, some KVM, some Citrix, etc. They are starting to use more and more managed service providers. Okay, they used to be their MSP, now they're calling cloud, but doesn't matter. Same thing. They're consuming services and IT services from third parties. And of course, everybody wants to use the public cloud, Google, Amazon, whatever you want to call it. Yes, everything is going to be there. And the reality, after speaking to many customers, is that they're going to use some and some and some. And that's the whole kind of like hybrid cloud vision that everybody's talking about, okay? The thing is that we believe that this hybrid cloud is going to be actually a matter of choice. People want to be able to choose what workload at what time is going to run where, depending on cost, on SLAs, on availability, on performance, because the same workload might need to be running in some place for some period of time, and a different place for a different period of time, okay? And people want the choice in the type of infrastructure, they want the choice in the provider, they want the insurance policy. For example, if I run I'm a next-gen application, I run everything in Amazon. Okay, am I only Amazon and that's it? Don't I need any protection policy, any kind of like insurance policy that if Amazon is shut down for tomorrow, what do? Do I have my data somewhere? So even if I make my choice on running my workload somewhere, I want maybe my protection somewhere else. Okay, we see that today SDR is becoming a big item for cloud providers. So DR from on-premise to the cloud, very nice use case. We have a lot of customers with that use case. But also, what I'm saying is, even when people are going to move to the public cloud more and are going to move more to the new infrastructure, they will still need this protection, backup, DR, or something. Okay, so the problem is that need this closer to me. Some animation here. The problem is that let me run. Okay, the problem is that if you actually look at production workloads today, everything that I just said is not there. You can't do that. You cannot take a VMware workload, a production workload, and move it to Amazon, or move it even to a non-VMware cloud provider. If you want to use Hyper-V as your secondary site, you can't protect a production VMware workload into Hyper-V. Can you take one VM, create a template, and move it? Yes, maybe. But that's not a production workload protection. That's not production workload mobility. Production workload mobility means that you want to be able to mobilize that workload or recover, fail over that workload, whatever the use case is, migration or protection, without saying, okay, I'll shut down the workload now, I'll copy the entire data to the other side, and then I'll boot it up, okay? That doesn't work for a 10 terabyte database, okay? But people are running 10 terabyte databases in one place and want to protect them in another, okay? People are moving large databases into Amazon, but they will still want to protect them into something else. It's about networking. You have a multi-tier application that needs to be mobilized to another infrastructure. Does the networking match? Does the networking modules even, or the way you configure networking match? No. Same. It's all about the different management pieces. Okay. You have, even if configuring an application or a workload in one place is not the same as configuring it in another place. Okay. So that's what we see as the problem in this space, because on one hand you have VMware. They, funny enough, in the key, I loved in the keynote how they explained that they're selling choice, but only if you're using VMware. Okay, yes, you can go between VCHS and VMware. That's a lot of choice, but we believe that actually they want the enterprises really want choice, but the real choice, not the VMware choice between VMware and Hyper-V and Xen and OpenStack and all that, because some of these infrastructure are better at different things. And the problem we're seeing in the market is the fact that actually doing it, the actual piping for doing it is not there. And that's where we are going, okay? That's what we think is missing. What's missing is basically a layer that will enable that workload conversion and mobility between the different infrastructures. And us, as a company, our DNA is the ability to mobilize big amounts of data from point A to point B as a protection or migration, that to encapsulate applications with multi-VPs, with ensuring that they can recover, with all their interdependencies, with their networking, all of that. That's what we do today at the VMware kind of like level. We are taking that and moving into a multi-infrastructure play, okay? And we call that the Cloud Fabric, okay? That's a name we kind of like we believe kind of like encapsulate what we're trying to do here, which will enable me to take any workload and convert it on either for a migration for a mobility use case, or for a DR use case, or for a backup use case between different infrastructure, either temporarily or as an ongoing kind of like way of doing things. If we look at how we get there in terms of versions, and I'm touching here on what's coming. So our V1 2011, our first time in Tech Field Day, we built basically the building blocks. Okay, we started with the fact that we have a VPG construct, a construct of multiple VMs. We built our very, very efficient replication engine. We built the whole orchestration piece, the automation of how do you do a failover, how do you do a test failover, how do you do a failback, how do you do migration, all of those basic orchestration pieces. And I'm putting here production because our focus from day one was on the production aspect of the IT infrastructure, not the test and dev. Okay? We are today, I'll give an example, one of our customers had to migrate 1,200 VMs because they were physically shutting down a data center. So they had to migrate them from data center A to B. They had a year to do that. 9 months down the road, they still couldn't do it because they were trying all kinds of other systems. They got introduced to Zerto. Within a month, they migrated all the 1,200 VMs. And these are production databases, multi-terabyte databases, Oracles and SQL servers and everything, with all the application. This is where we're coming from. In version 2, we actually added the multi-tenancy piece because we saw all the demand from the cloud service providers coming, saying, hey, this is great. We want to sell that as a service. We want to sell the as a service. So we added all the multi-tenancy piece. In version 3, we actually added the Zerto Cloud Manager and many kind of like more management functionalities to the product. Things like resource reporting and billing reports and what we call Zorg, which are encapsulating organizations, kind of like a vCloud Director or a similar thing. Lots of layers to enable someone to actually either manage a complete application between infrastructure between multiple sites, if it's a large enterprise, or if it's service providers managing multiple replication sites for many more multiple customers. Okay, what we're going to add now is what we call the Cloud Fabric. Any cloud, any stack, and that's going to, of course, not going to be all at the same time. Coming up now by the end of the year, and we can show you a demo, is Hyper-V support, including support between Hyper-V and VMware. So not only you can take Zerto and deploy it on a Hyper-V infrastructure, you can also have one site Hyper-V, another site VMware. Okay, so replication of workloads between one and the other is included also. The second thing we're adding next year is AWS support. where you basically can go from VMware or Hyper-V into AWS. Okay, in replication. I'm talking about replication. Another thing we already added in version 3.5, which doesn't show on the slide here, is what we call offsite backup. That's our first step into kind of like not only DR, but longer retention. So we believe that many customers already that have their data in their DR site want to keep it there and want to actually use the same data for longer retention. So that longer retention can be to just cheap disks at the replication site, or to Amazon, for example, like making a two-tier kind of like I'm doing replication from point A to point B, and then point B to Amazon as the second tier. So that's already in the product, already shipping. Okay, so that includes weeklies and dailies and all of these things. Of course, offloading the production side. So these are all coming. Again, Hyper-V and Amazon are really soon. After that, there will be Azure and Google and OpenStack as a management, and OpenStack as a
Well, so you say OpenStack, but that's an ecosystem, not a product, right? Like what hypervisors will it deploy into, and also what storage systems will it deploy into?
So the way I see it, the number one priority, at least for us right now, because again of our production kind of like focus, is OpenStack and VMware. Because I see lots of VMware clouds that are looking for a management layer, and they say, oh, you know what, we'll use OpenStack. So
for now, there's no intent of going for KVM, ESX, or other things.
I said priority-wise. I say yes, there is an intent, but priority-wise, I'm saying first I want to add OpenStack on top of VMware, and then I'll add KVM and Zen, etc. Now, the second piece is OpenStack as a target. I'm totally abstracted from the hypervisor.
I'm assuming that you just push into object storage and
again, exactly, just like the same way I'm going to do Amazon. How does do Amazon? I don't know what hypervisor they have. Okay,
right.
So I'm actually using the Amazon API, and I'm using it the way it's been kind of like the only way I can, which is I'm basically floating on top of Amazon. So if you are building an OpenStack cloud, and I'm just using your cloud from the outside, as opposed to providing you a full management stack in the inside, which I'm doing with VMware, or later I'll do it with OpenStack, then I can use OpenStack with any hypervisor. I don't care. Okay, understand the distinction between the two operation mode? Perfect. Any questions? Does that make any sense at all? The need, the solution, why we think we're the right people to go after this? Say something.
We're assuming it's customer driven. That's obviously you've had feature requests where people have said, I'm going to run multi-hypervisors, I need this.
For sure, yes. And I'm not sure they're actually going to run multi-hypervisor as much as they want to have the option. They want to have the option to run multi. That's a big difference. I don't know. But anyway, they want to have the option. And we do have one use case that is 100% there, is actually Hyper-V to VMware. And that's cloud providers that have built their VMware infrastructure and want to service Hyper-V customers. Want to do DR from Hyper-V customers into their VMware cloud. That's proven. Tomorrow morning I have customers waiting, cloud provider and their customers waiting for that. Okay, that's the other side. Is I'm getting a lot of requests for that. I'm not ready to put money on how many are actually going to do that. And
from a bursting perspective, if you want to burst to the cloud for specific time, it makes sense to support as much as possible platforms.
Exactly.
Some platforms are better price-wise, others are better performance-wise. So it makes sense to support as much as possible.
Exactly. And that's you can talk about brokerage and all kinds of things later, and down the road we will enable all those stories, because people are telling all these stories all the time. You can move everything from here to here. But yes, you can move a template of a test VM. That's easy. But talk about a production workload, your ERP system, or your e-commerce website. It's a totally different story.
Big web of dependencies makes a big difference.
Yes, yeah. and also the sheer amount of data. It's all about the data. And if you have a multi-terabyte database, if you don't have good replication technology that can synchronize it and can prepare you to a very quick move, you can't make it. You can't do it any other way.